There we are, and we're live. Hello, hello, Facebook. I was having a little technical challenges. This is my friend.
Hi.
Here we go. Kristen. Kristen Roby Garcia. Hello, Kristen. How are you today? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, Liz, my friend, my dear friend. I'm amazing, first of all, although it's a little crazy here in the US today. So
I know I was watching some of it, but I think California already decided around 9 o'clock-ish, 10 o'clock last night.
yeah, California's been a blue state for who knows how long, right? So
Yeah.
we,
So
we yeah, so but it's just been a little nuts. This first time it's happened in my lifetime, right? So it's like I was hoping to wake up today and figure out who our next president was, but
not yet. It's streaming in. It's streaming in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome everyone to Wisdom Wednesdays. As you know, this is an opportunity for us to share some of our thoughts, ideas. I'm bringing a bunch of female thought leaders on here to share some of their wisdom with you. And at the end, they're going to say how they can get in touch with how you can get in touch with them if you want some more information. So this is Kristen, my lovely, wonderful Kristen. And Kristen's got great bio. She can probably do a better job than me. All I know is that she's a master certified health coach, right? You've got a couple of certifications in that area. You've been doing this for quite some time now, in addition to your full-time job. So, right? It's like eventually, right? We're going to transition. But more recently, as you're getting certified or you finished your certification, you call yourself a body confidence wellness coach.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us what is a body confidence wellness coach?
Yes, great question. So it is kind of something that I came up with on my own, but I just thought that it was such a great embodiment of what I do. I primarily work with emotional eaters or habitual eaters, women in particular, and that are really trapped in that cycle of overeating and are looking for a way to get out of it and just need that extra hand to come in and pull them out, and just say, hey, I've got you. So I lock arms with those women and those amazing women, and I help to pull them out of that and to really find their confidence again. That's why I say body confidence wellness coach, because I find that a lot of women, they have so much shame and guilt wrapped around the overeating and this cycle that they get in, that they tend to lose all confidence in themselves and their ability. And so they oftentimes have a lot of body image issues as well. They've stopped loving their body. They start looking at their body as something that's not serving them. And so I help them to get their confidence back, and to feel good in those jeans again.
Yeah, so needed, so needed. I think it
Yeah.
boils, and I'm sure that you dig deep and find out really there's probably some issues and limiting beliefs I'm sure that you untangle for them, and then they probably go mind-blowing stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, so as you know, I'm also a transformational mindset coach through David Bear, as well as a master certified health coach. And so, what is unique about what I do is I start out with the mind first,
Mm.
before we even really dive into the health side. And so, because for a lot of women that are stuck in that cycle and that trap of overeating and low self-esteem, low confidence, it really is the way that they think. It's the
Mm.
thinking that we have to dig down into. And
Exactly.
for a lot of us, it comes from our childhood and
Mm.
what our families taught us about food and our bodies. And, I know that was my story. And so that starts out very young, and we don't even know it, that our brains are being programmed at such a young age. And we carried that with us for many, many years into adulthood. So a lot of the clients I work with actually have struggled. If they're being really honest with themselves, they take a look and they say, yeah, I've been struggling with this since I was 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wow. Time to
That's,
struggle.
yeah. So
So
it's really,
wow, so needed, so needed. So in terms of that, so how did you become that kind of segues us into asking, how did you become a body confidence wellness coach?
Yeah, so my story is, that of what I was just sharing, actually, started at 10. Um,
Wow.
I remember looking in the mirror every day, with my mom, because I was like my mom's oldest child, and I loved my mom, and I adored my mom, and I used to follow her around, everywhere she went. I was, like, attached to her hip because I love my mom, and I wanted to be my mom when I grow up, right? I think a lot of young girls feel that way, and my mom, unbeknownst to her, started really, putting these thoughts into my head about what she thought about her body, which made me think about my body. And I remember every day I would stand there while she got dressed, put her makeup on. I was obsessed with watching her do her makeup. And she would say every day, she would say, "I'm so fat. I'm so
Oh
fat,
my gosh.
so fat."
Yeah.
And so here I was, this little girl looking at this woman that I loved and I adored. And I thought, well, if she thinks she's fat, I must be fat too. And I was 10. And I was actually kind of scrawny when I was a kid. I look back at pictures of myself and I was like, wow, right? It's amazing how powerful the brain is. So I started at a very early age, using food as comfort. We talk a lot about this in the mindset portion of the work that I do, but I was actually recreating that thought of I was fat. So
Mm.
I started eating everything I saw at a very right around the age of 10. I started because I had that subconscious limiting belief I was fat. So I started eating and eating and eating. And I actually stayed pretty slender. I was in the entertainment business for many years. And so I did the other part of it where I stopped eating a lot of times because I needed to maintain a certain weight. But as I got older, I had a lot of issues with gaining weight and could not seem to lose it. Definitely was using food as comfort, was overeating. I didn't feel like I never felt full, so I just eat and eat and eat. So right around the age of 37, I was the heaviest I'd ever been. I was well over 200 pounds.
Wow.
I am 5'9", so I'm tall. I carried it well, but I mean, it was starting to really affect me. I remember getting out of bed at 37, right? I'm 45 now, by the way, and 8 years later. So I remember getting out of the bed one morning, and I was like, I felt like an old woman, if you will, right? I mean, my bones were cracking, and I was so uncomfortable, and I was like, what's happening? I mean, I'm way too young to be going through this. I went to the doctor. I started having weird symptoms happening. Went to the doctor and I had a bunch of tests done. And on the same day, I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at 37,
Wow.
Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition, and
Yes.
depression.
Wow.
And my doctor, God love him, he's just doing what he's trained to do. He was like, "Well, here's some prescriptions," and handed me a bunch of prescriptions. And I've never been a pill person. I actually have a pill swallowing phobia, which is a whole other story. So I don't like taking pills. And I was like, "What?" And he said, I was like, "Well, how long do I have to take these?" And he said, "Oh, well, the thyroid med you'll be on for the rest of your life." And I was like, "What?" So I said, "You know what? I'm not doing this." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm not doing this." And he goes, "Okay, I'll give you 6 months." To go figure it out on your own. So I have always been a person who loves learning, and I'm curious, and I ask a lot of questions. Why? Tell me why. Tell me why. The doctor couldn't tell me why, and that really frustrated me. So I became my own health advocate, and I did my own research, and I discovered the power of whole food nutrition. And I know that looking back, we have so much more education coming at us now in that realm that we did not have 8 years ago. And I thought I was healthy, by the way, because I
Mm.
had a salad every day. Didn't that make me healthy?
Yeah.
But I was also eating French fries and drinking Coca-Colas, and I lived on Starbucks. I think I had like 3 Starbucks a day. I mean, they knew me by name at my local Starbucks. I was just I
You
was
had your cup ready. They had the cup ready for
Oh,
you.
yeah, they did, they did. My husband was like, "Oh my god, honey, you think you have a problem?" I'm like, "No, what are you talking about? I don't have a problem." So, anyways, long story short is that, I became my own health advocate, and I was able to completely heal my body. I never got on any medications, through, diet and exercise changes. And so I realized how powerful food was, but a lot of other things that I did too. And so I had so many people asking me because I lost weight. I lost weight naturally. It wasn't my focus. It wasn't my goal, but it was a really added bonus. I just wanted to heal my body. And so in that, I lost 80 pounds
Wow.
and I became so just fired up and passionate about helping other women because I had so many women coming to me and going, "What are you doing?" I had women in the grocery store. I didn't even know these people asking me, "What are you doing? Your skin is amazing. It's glowing." And I'm like, "It is?" I mean, I didn't even realize it. And so I just realized there's so many women out there that are looking for answers that they're not finding. And so that's where that came from. The passion came from that, the just wanting to help others. I have a helper's heart. I'm constantly giving and giving and giving. And so I did coach for free for many years. I've coached hundreds of women.
Wow.
And so all of them have had great results. Like you said earlier, I'm just now launching my coaching business, if you will, and I have paying clients now, which is great. And I want to do this full time, and I'm really passionate about it. So that's my story.
Yeah, and so needed because there's so many women out there who may be on medications that they really don't need, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you could do it without having to go on thyroid medication, I'm sure. There might be the odd case where, they would probably want to check with their doctor, but I'm pretty sure that it sounds, and I think that's what everybody's looking for because we're living longer. And like,
Mhm.
waking up at 37, wow, and feeling like an old lady, like, and look at you now,
Yeah.
vibrant, healthy, skin glowing, all
Uh-huh.
that kind of stuff. And I'm sure that this time of year, our viewers are probably thinking, oh my gosh, November's here. And for you guys in the States, you're heading into your Thanksgiving and then Christmas. So this is an important time of year that I'm trying to stress to many of my tribe members and people, that this is the time to start really digging your heels in and looking at your nutrition in your house. So, and I know that you've got something you're going to share with them later on after you talk about, but this is what I really interested me is that you have 3 things you want to talk to them today. And this is really cool because I think it's kind of neat because it's like 3 things to stop doing during the holidays if you don't want to gain weight. And then when you told me you're going to talk about that today, I kind of went, what? There's pumpkin pie and plum pudding and all that stuff. So take it away and let us know, what are those 3 things to stop doing if we don't want to gain weight.
Yes, 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 yes. And thank you again for having me on. First of all, Liz, I'm so honored to be here. And I'm really excited to share these with everybody because this is what I've been doing for the last 8 years. And I actually lose weight during the holidays, and I have every single year. And it's
Well,
not rocket science.
ah,
Right? The things I'm gonna teach. It's actually very simple things that you can do, but it's very, very powerful, and I've used these with all my clients as well, and they love them. So I'm super excited to share these. So, one of the first things that I do when I work with my clients is I really help them to understand the importance of becoming a mindful eater
mm,
to a mindless eater, right?
right.
And I feel like we've been hearing that. Well, first of all, I've been hearing the word mindfulness more now, I think, than ever. I mean, I see it everywhere now. It's kind of almost overused nowadays, but it's so important to do that with our food, right? Just becoming, and I want to make stress that too, towards, right? This isn't black and white, right? This isn't you have to be a mindless eater one day and a mindful eater the next. It's moving towards that, and that's a big part of what I do with people is I empower them.
I was going to say you probably teach them,
I teach them.
guide
I
them.
teach them to be empowered and I guide them. And it's very different than a lot of, if you will, my competitors out there. I have a very different philosophy. So I find that a lot of people have this FOMO, right? In regards to the food they get to eat, especially during the holidays, like you said, right? It's like this fear of missing out, right? It's like, no, 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 I want, like you just said, the plum pudding and grandma's pies and maybe it's something you've been eating every year since you were a little kid, right? It's like I know I have my 3 dishes that I make that my mom used to make every Thanksgiving and Christmas that reminds me of being home, because my family lives in Florida, so I'm 3,000 miles away from them, so I don't get to see them much on the holidays. So it's like, you don't want to miss out on that stuff. Or maybe it's the candy bowl, right, that everybody's eating in the house, and so you feel like you've got to eat it too. It's just this thing that we do, right? And so a lot of us have this mentality that we can't eat healthy we can't be healthy and eat the foods we love, right? And you just said that, right? It's like you can't do that. But today I'm actually going to help you and your listeners to maintain those health goals during the holidays, whatever those are, by teaching you some of these tips that I teach my clients. So, ultimately that goal of becoming more mindful versus mindless, I do that by breaking down the facets of eating. And it's what I call the 6 W's. And I love acronyms, so you're going to hear a lot of those today. So the 6 W's. And so really what that is doing is it's empowering us so that we are in control of our food and our food is not controlling us, right? So I do want to encourage everyone to grab a notebook and a pen, because I'm going to share some really jam-packed tips and info with you today. And I really don't want you to miss this. And I want everyone to walk away feeling encouraged and excited about your upcoming holidays and what you get to eat without all the food guilt and the food shame that a lot of us experience during the holidays, even if we're not emotional eaters, I found. So I mentioned the 6 W's of mindful eating, and I don't have enough time to go into all 6 of those today, but I'm going to share 3 of those with you.
Okay.
So there are 3 questions that I have my clients ask themselves before they eat. And this isn't just for the holidays, this is anytime, but particularly during the holidays. And again, these are going to help them move towards being a mindful eater, right? And it's a journey, not a race. So I want everybody to give themselves permission, right? To stay curious around the food that you're eating and the questions that you're going to ask yourself, right? Be curious, be almost childlike, and don't judge. Do it without any judgment. Okay, so that's kind of like a side tip, but it will really, really help you to become more mindful. So the questions are why, what, and how, right? I know how doesn't start with a W, but it's way easier to remember 6 W's instead of 5 W's and an H. Okay, so just, so it's 6 W's. But the first question is why? Why are you eating, right? And then what do I eat? And then how do I eat? So why, what, and how. So drum roll. So the 3 things to stop doing during the holidays if you don't want to gain weight. Number 1, stop using food as a reward, comfort, or punishment, and start using it as nourishment. I'll say that again. Stop using food as a reward, comfort, or punishment, and start using it as nourishment.
That's a good, I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And it is a really important shift towards being a mindful eater. It's a complete mind shift, right? And I have an acronym that I teach my clients. I call it the 3 F's. I try to keep it fun, right? The 3 F's are food for fuel. Okay. So when you sit down to eat, whenever you're going to put something in your mouth, I want you to ask why. Okay, why am I eating? And remember those 3 F's. Food for fuel. Am I eating for fuel, or am I eating for reward, comfort, or punishment ultimately, right? And I want to clarify here, there's no judgment towards either one of those, okay? So if you're eating for reward, punishment, or comfort, I think it's important, again, to be mindful and acknowledge that. Say, you know what? I'm eating this cupcake right now because I'm rewarding. In my mind, I'm rewarding.
Wow. That's a great distinction. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so helpful. I mean, that one thing has completely shifted me in so many ways. And, because so many of us, are running when we run into the holidays, right? We have that to-do list that's doubling or tripling in my case sometimes, right? From our normal schedules, right? We're bouncing from one thing to the next, whether it's Christmas shopping, sending out cards, holiday shopping, decorating, maybe we're preparing for some event, and all these extra stressors. Oh, and think about all the things that we're having to do for COVID this year, right? Just to even have, I know here in California, just to have a normal Thanksgiving, there's all these like COVID rules that our governor recently put on us. I mean, it's just looking at the list, it was like, oh my gosh, maybe we shouldn't even have Thanksgiving. I mean, it can cause us to be triggered. And so a lot of us go to extremes in our eating, right? So what, we may not eat at all, and then we're starving at the end of the day and we're overeating, or we're eating too much because we're completely stressed, right? And we aren't even thinking about what we're eating, and we're just eating to eat. We're not asking ourselves that question, why am I eating?
Yeah.
Or at our next holiday event, I've done this many times. I'm preparing all morning, and then I just forgot to eat. And so then all of a sudden I see this big spread on the table, and I'm like eating everything because I made most of it. And I might even have a second or third helping, right? I mean, I've done all of these things. So it's important to ask that question, why, right? When we take a step back and consciously ask ourselves, why are we eating? It's gonna trigger the 3 F's automatically. Am I eating food for fuel? And again, this one shift has been so helpful. I look at my food in a completely different way, and it's really transformed not only my everyday eating, but especially the way I'm eating during the holidays.
Wow.
And I really start looking for food as fuel, and foods that are going to fuel my body, without giving up the foods that I love to eat. Okay, so I still eat all those other little foods that I want. I'm just making sure that I'm eating the majority of the food I'm eating is for fuel.
Sounds
It's
like
not
more of a conscious choice is what you're saying. Yeah.
exactly. Just making that mindful or conscious choice is huge, huge. And that kind of leads us into my next tip, tip number 2, which is stop looking at food as good or bad, and start looking at food and your food choices without judgment,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how you feel when I read that, but I just go,
Relief. Yeah, definitely.
it sounds amazing, right? I'm
Yeah.
not, I could eat that pumpkin pie. I'm not looking at it as bad. No, I don't want you to do that, because that answers our second question, by the way, of what to eat, right? So we ask the why and we do the what. So when we ask our question, the why, and then we're applying those 3 F's, right? Eating food for fuel. This second question naturally helps you to want to make higher quality food choices, right? And your body is so smart. It's going to crave what it needs. And so you might actually crave grandma's pie. That's okay. Or that cornbread stuffing or the plum pudding, right? But what ends up happening is you're more mindful. You're also going to be craving the salad and the turkey, right? You can have it all, which is nice, right? And even if you don't, it's okay. Enjoy that meal, whatever it is, right?
Because
Take
there's
all,
always tomorrow,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, there's always tomorrow as well.
That's right. And just, always tell people, applying these questions for each meal is really helpful too. Because a lot of people, especially emotional eaters, or if we get triggered by something, we'll go into this whole spin of, well, I just ate the whole bag of potato chips. I might as well just go ahead and eat everything else for the rest of the day too, right? And that's really not how you want to approach food, because it then becomes consuming, and it consumes you, right? So just really being mindful with these questions is so, so, so helpful. And I do want to be clear, when I say choosing higher quality foods, it's foods that are minimally processed, or whole foods that aren't processed at all. And you'll find as you move towards that mindful eating, you're naturally going to start craving these higher quality foods, which is really awesome. And I know it kind of sounds counterintuitive, to stop looking at food as good or bad. And I can just imagine all the people that are in the health space right now that might be listening to this going, what? What is she talking about? But I promise you, it works.
I will be getting it, because I'm thinking that if I look at it that way, then I may not be thinking like, the devil made me do it or ego made me do it or whatever, but it's more, it's not good or bad. I'm just going to have a bite. And
Exactly.
I may more likely say that's all I'm going to have and put the rest aside,
That's right. That's right. And I think when we go into this "I can't have it" mentality,
Mm.
that's when you want it.
Yeah, right? Because that's what we do. It's just human nature.
It's
Exactly.
human nature. When you tell somebody they can't have something, then they want it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I look at my kids. I used to tell my kids all the time, "Don't eat this, don't eat that, don't eat that." I made that mistake when I first started coaching 8 years ago to coach my kids. Never do that, right? And it's funny because now I see, I shifted. I did big shift, about 5, 6 years ago with them, and I let them eat whatever they want. And it's they tell me like, "Mom, I love that you let me eat whatever I want." Because some of my friends, they can't eat that, they can't eat this. I am in California, so people are a little bit health conscious out here, right? And so I'm happy and excited when they tell me that. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, good, because I'm setting you up for long-term success as an adult to be able to stay healthy," right? Um, but yeah, so, like, once we remove shame and guilt around our food choices, it's really uplifting, and I've had so many of my clients that are like, "Oh my god, I have so much food freedom now," it's just I feel so much better, and I don't have this guilt anymore, and, it's really exciting to hear that. And, you think about it too, like the mental stress that we put on ourselves every time we put something in our mouths, it can really consume us,
Well,
you know?
it's why I don't know, I read it somewhere, but something about calorie counting is really not good. So I can't remember where I heard it. It's not yeah, you don't need to do that. So what you're doing is I love it because you're training your brain to make you think about what it is that you're doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yes, and I'm a big believer in do not counting calories, by the way. But I actually have to retrain people a lot of times when I work with them. I'm like, "Guess what? We're not gonna look at calories anymore." And they're like, "What? Okay." You know?
Yay!
And you know what? There's actually studies about this as well that,
Mhm,
that what we think about food, while we're eating it, it actually impacts the way our food is absorbed by the body in a
mhm.
negative or positive way. And I want to share this because this is a really cool
Okay.
study. They did a study where they fed two groups of women the same exact foods, and they knew ahead of time that one of the groups loved the foods they were feeding them and the other group didn't. And so in the group that loved the food, they had a 50% better nutrient absorption rate
Hmm.
than the group that didn't,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And then in that same group that enjoyed the food, they turned it into mush, they blended it up, and they had that same group eat it again, and because the food looked gross to them, even though they liked it before, right? Even though it was the same exact food, they absorbed 70% less iron.
Wow.
So, same exact food, same exact people, but their thoughts about the food had changed, and that affected the way it was absorbed into the body. So our brains are a goal achieving machine, right? And what we think about what we are eating is very powerful. So that's why I say enjoy that carrot cake. Go, this tastes amazing. Right? But if you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm going to gain 100 pounds if I eat carrot cake, right? And I have had people tell me that. And I know my own thought, going back to my own thinking, I remember eating a bite of chocolate cake and I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't be eating this. It's like, no, 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 don't do that, and you find that your body's going to respond much differently. So this has been another big one for me. And this is why I believe I lose weight during the holidays. And like I said, I'm still eating the foods I love, right? But I'm not eating a whole cake. I'm
No,
having maybe a couple bites and I feel satisfied. And that's a whole other conversation I talk a lot
it's a
about.
big maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so that is number 2, right? And that kind of leads us into our third tip, which is stop eating while distracted
Mm,
and start connecting with
mm,
your food, right? And so that answers that last question of how. How do we eat, right? How do I eat? Um, and I don't know about you, Liz, I think a lot of us can, especially right now, a lot of us are working from home. And so we're not eating, at a table, sitting down. We're eating with our phone in our hands. We're eating while we're watching TV. We're eating um, with our computer in front of us while we're maybe typing an email and putting a bite in our mouth at the same time, right? Um, a lot of us are scarfing down our food, and so, this is really important actually. It's probably the single most important thing you can do is to connect with your food. And I believe it's actually more important than the other two tips that I just gave you, because your body's uh, needs to be able to absorb and digest the food properly. And, they call the gut the second brain of the body. So you have the brain and then you have the gut system, right? And so there's a reason why they say that, because all day long your brain and your body are talking to each other, and specifically the gut, right? And so if you take that time to connect with your food, and this just could be as simple as maybe turning off the TV or putting your phone away. I'm not talking about extended periods of time, like maybe 15, 20 minutes, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really take that long to sit and connect with the meal, really. Yeah.
Right. It really doesn't. And just putting your phone on silence maybe, right? And that time of connection is going to signal the brain to let the gut know it's time to do its thing, right? It's time to begin to absorb and break down those needed nutrients. And so, take that time to enjoy your food and really enjoy each bite. I'm not talking making love to your fork or anything, but just really just enjoy that bite. Think about what you're eating, enjoy the flavors,
I was gonna say, I bet you can probably taste the flavors better when you're more connected to your food and you're not distracted by the TV or your phone or computer. And
That's
that's
right.
good for you. And that definitely helps, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same with during the holidays,
Mhm.
especially. Is take that time to connect with your food.
Right.
And another big thing that I like to do, and I think this is important, is to say a little prayer or express gratitude for my meal before I eat it.
Mhm.
Um, it's a really great way of just saying thank you. I'm acknowledging and feeling grateful for all the things that had to happen for that food to get on that plate, right? I actually come from the food manufacturing world. That's my background. And I mean, I could not going to go into that today, but when you begin to think about all of the things that had to happen to get that food on my plate, it's pretty amazing. And we're so blessed and grateful to be able to live in a country or North America, right? Where we have so much food available to us all the time that I think we forget about that, right?
Mm.
And so really just being able to say thank you. Thank you for giving me this food today. Thank you, food, for serving me. It's a whole other way to look at it, but it really is important. And again, it's especially important during the holidays. And you can still say that to your dessert. Thank you for grandma's pie, right? Thank you. So it's gonna totally transform the way your food is processed in your body, which is awesome.
I
Uh,
think that really goes in line with the other two things that you talked about too, in terms of, was it number two, the why or the what? Yeah.
the what? Yeah, these all flow together.
It does. Yeah, I can
And
see that.
and it really, and again, there's a total of 6, but these are the 3 main ones that I teach, and it's so helpful. And I think for me in my own life, I'm not a size 4, right? I'm not, you know, extremely fit in that sense, like I'm not hitting the gym every day or anything, but I feel really, really good in my jeans again. That's why I always say that I feel good in my jeans. I feel confident in my body and who I am. Um, so if people are wanting to be a certain size or be ripped, you got to do some other things, obviously. But for the average woman, and especially emotional eaters, she just wants to feel comfortable in her body and she just wants to be able to eat food without overthinking it, right?
Mhm.
So that's really what these tips do and really help with. And so maybe I should do a little recap really quick. Just
Absolutely.
right, asking yourselves 3 questions. So, why am I eating? What am I eating? And how am I eating, right? So the 3 questions. And then, for the why, remember those 3 F's, right? Food for
Food,
fuel,
fuel. Mhm.
right? For
Yeah.
the what, just remember to look for food choices that you enjoy without any judgment, right?
Yeah.
And then for the how, remember to stay connected to your food by expressing gratitude and removing any distractions while you're eating.
Hmm. And that's especially for the holidays. And why not connect with your loved ones over food? I mean, that's the best way to bond with people too, right?
Absolutely, and I
Maybe
think
everybody else getting grateful for, oh my God, we should be grateful for grandma for this. And can you imagine the farmer? Like, just start a whole conversation with everybody. That will just really uplift everyone too, I would think. For the holidays.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
and this time of year more than ever, I think it's so important to stay connected, like you were saying,
Mhm.
especially with all the COVID stuff, like, we don't really know what's gonna happen. So,
No,
if you can even, I don't know, have a computer and have a Zoom going maybe with your family if you can't get together with them, for whatever reason, just
being
be
overdue. Yeah.
eating together, food should be enjoyed, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's meant to be enjoyed. Food was created to nourish, and I think so many of us have been twisted in that sense,
I
by
definitely want to find out more about your 6 W's of mindful eating. I know I'm already thinking of why, what, how, really incorporating that into my mindset and being more mindful of that. As you know, I mean, we've already had our Thanksgiving, but we've got parties coming up, maybe
yeah,
family gatherings and stuff. People are probably going to start getting together because if they can't get together for Christmas, right? But the holidays are pretty much going to start mid-November for us as well. And you know what I really like too is that it's a journey and not a race. You said that it was a journey and not a race, and that stood out to me. And because you don't want to even race through food, and you want, and that's part of the mindfulness. So, and if people, Kristen, thank you so much for today. I just
thank
want to say, I'm sure people are going to want to reach out to you and find more information. How can they get hold of you, and what's next?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on today. This was just awesome. Yeah, so you have my email streaming there. It's Kristen at allthingshealthy.org. Just make sure you do the .org and not .com. But what I would love to do for everyone is if you email me, I actually have a free recipe. I call it my easy one dish recipe guide, and it's awesome. And most of the meals in there are 30 minutes or less. And especially during this time of the year, my clients absolutely love this because you want something very easy to make. It will fill everybody's taste profile in the home. Even the little ones love it. So if you have small children, they'll love it too. Great recipes in there. And if you email me and let me know that you're interested in that, I will send that over to you. And then I also am going to put into the chat once we're done here, I'll put my calendar link in there as well. And for anybody, I do offer a free 30-minute clarity call. And what I do on that call is I really help to guide you in your next steps on your health journey. And so I want you to walk away from that call feeling like you have something to help move you forward towards whatever your health goals are. And so we explore that together in that call. And so I'll send a link in to my calendar for anyone that wants to connect with me that way as well.
Absolutely. So you're giving away a ton of information here today in the short time that we've been together. I just love the 3 W's that you shared with us. On top of that, you're giving everybody a free ebook of recipes and the opportunity to spend 30 wonderful minutes with you. So thank you for all that. That's great. I really love the 3 things that we can stop doing during the holidays. And I know those 3 of those, the 6 W's have been etched in my mind. So, hey, everyone, here's Kristen, lovely, wonderful Kristen, Kristen, Roby Garcia. Please, everyone, just get in touch with her. I'm sure it's going to be the best 30 minutes that you've spent. So once again, thank you, Kristen. Thank you for coming on here today. I love you. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.